I'd like to share with you today, as we get to the end of Hanukkah, a powerful thought about Hallel. In Hallel, we saw Hallel, the first line, and all throughout almost every parak of Hallel, with the exception of parak Kuf Yudalid, we say at the end, Halukah. And I explained in previous classes that Ka is a limited recognition of Hashem. Yud K, it's only half of the Shem Havaya. Yud K, it's the intellectual perception of Kadosh Baruch Hu. Without the Vav K represents the practical manifestation of Hashem in our lives. And the journey of Hallel is to come to the limited perception of Hashem in an intellectual level, to a practical level of Hashem being the one and only power who runs our lives. And this is what we're doing through Hallel, to go from the limited perception of Yud K, of Ka, to the more widened perception of Yud K, Vav K. And that's what we say, B'merich of Ka. Anani B'merich of Ka. The widening of Ka is from Yud K to Yud K, Vav K. That's the avoda of Hallel. So in the midst of this whole recitation of Hallel, yeah, in the midst of the whole recitation, so we say many times Halukah. And I came to the very powerful recognition on Friday as follows, that the gematria of the word Hallel is 65. To Lamed Lamed is 30, and plus Hey is 5, is 65. And the gematria also of Adni, Aleph Dal Nun Yun, is also 65. And so in essence we're saying Halukah is that to put the Adni into the Ka, right? Adni, the Hashem is our master. Ka is the intellectual recognition of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Yud K, Yud is Chachma, and Hey is Bina, Yud K. And to put the Adni into Ka, to put the fact that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is our master, and every single thing that we do in throughout life has to be directed with his, with the understanding that is from him. That's the idea of Halukah. That's the journey through Hallel, right? And again, we start Hallel with Parak Kuf Yud Gimel, and that's the proof, right? The proof that Hashem is the only one who can control and direct anything in our life. We see it from the fact He's infinite, that He's beyond time and space. In Kuf Yud Daled, we show that practical examples of that how He took us out of Mitzrayim and split the Yam Suf and Maimon Har Sinai. And then throughout the Hallel, we are saying how we were suffering so much and how HaKadosh Baruch Hu saved us and brought us this recognition. And all of these challenges that we go through, they're all an opportunity to Anani B'merich Avkah, to take our intellectual perception of HaKadosh Baruch Hu in life and to bring it into a reality where we can turn to Yud Kei Vav Kei, we can turn to Hashem and recognize that He's the one controlling. And in prayer and in thought and in action. And this is really what we're meant. As we come to the conclusion of Hanukkah, really, if we want to know if we had a successful Hanukkah or not, if we went through Hanukkah or Hanukkah went through us, right? If we want really Hanukkah to go through us and to make an impact on our lives, it's how much after Hanukkah, when we daven, when we come into situations of difficulties, are we coming into it with Ka, or are we coming to it with Havaya, right? Are we coming to it with only intellectual recognition that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the one who can help us? We're coming a practical recognition. A practical recognition means that when difficulties come, do we turn immediately to Hashem? As Rav Shlomo Brevda Zatzal used to say, right? When we hear about a sickness, when we get a message from a doctor or that either ourselves or someone in our family are sick, do we immediately turn to the doctor or do we turn to Tillim? Do we turn to Hashem first or do we turn to the Shtadlis first? The litmus test, how much we really recognize the power of Merich Avkah from Yud K to Yud K Vav K, is how do we react when the difficulties come, right? Do we turn to HaKadosh Baruch Hu in tefillah, or do we turn to despair? Do we get depressed? Do we try to do every single possible style as possible, right? This is really the avoda. And if we were successful in Hanukkah, right, if we had a successful avoda of Hanukkah, then our perception of Hashem in our lives is going to be much, much greater. And this is Ani B'merich of Ka. This is the expansion of Ka to Yud Kei Vav Kei. And this is what we're doing every day in Hallel, right? I myself have a hard time with Minyanim in Hallel because they go pretty quickly. But really, from the beginning of Hallel to the end of Hallel, we should be a slightly changed person. Rav Wolbe used to say that used to say that about Shemona Esrei. Really, after Shemona Esrei, we should be a different person. It's not easy because we daven so many times, but at least Hallel is a infrequent that happens infrequently, and it's only once in a while. But really, in essence, from the beginning of Hallel to the end of Hallel, we should be different people. We should, after Hallel, have a much clearer perception of the reality and the power of turning to Yud Kei Vav Kei. Turning to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Yud Kei Vav means Hoya Hoya V'yeh. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is above time, he's above space, he's above all human limitations, right? And therefore, most of our difficulties come from limitations. It might be financial limitations, it might be health limitations, it might be limitations in relationships. Most of our difficulties, not all of them, come from these limitations. By turning to the Shem Havaya, by turning to Yud Kei Vav Kei, we are in essence connecting to the power which allows us to lift ourselves above all limitations and come to connect and be one with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And this is the point. The point of the difficulty was to bring us to the next level of recognition. Right? Every single difficulty we have is a test in Amunah. It's a test if we're going to go from point A to point B to point C to point D. We're going to go up and up and up on the rungs of Amunah. Right? And we have a chance. We have an opportunity either to get depressed or to get upset or to be angry or to have bad feelings against the other person who might have been involved. Or alternatively, we could turn to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and to turn to HaKadosh Baruch Hu in prayer and to go get closer and closer and closer to Him, which is the real reason why all of these experiences are happening. So let's keep that in mind the next time we say Hallel. Yeah, that if you really want to say Hallel properly, it has to be done slowly and as we say with Messinus, every single line, sinking through it and thinking like, where is this taking me? How does this apply to my life? And where am I standing in this journey of my relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Am I holding my Kah or am I holding my Yud Kei Vav Kei? But Merachav Kah, right, to widen my recognition of Kah to Yud Kei Vav Kei, and the more it's widened, the more it becomes part of myself, the more it's my first and immediate reaction, right? If a person has a difficulty and their first reaction is to turn to HaKadosh Baruch Hu in tefillah, to say Tehillim, or to say a tefillah to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that's Merich of Kah. That means he's widened it from intellectual recognition to a heartfelt recognition, right? And it's not just believe, but it's in his practical existence as well. And this is what the Hallel is teaching us, right? Hallel is teaching us that we can all be the recipient of miracles in our life. Right? They're not necessarily going to be open miracles, but the more that we turn to HaKadosh Baruch Hu in prayer and in times of stress, the more we'll see Him. Right? The more that we pull back, right, and remove ourselves from the situation, the more we can allow the Shem Havaya to enter the situation and to perform things which are above time and above space and are not limited by limitations of this world. The greatest limitation that we have is the limitation of ourselves, is putting our own perception on a situation, whether it be in health, whether it be in our livelihood, our parnasa, in our shalom bayis, in our domestic tranquility, or our children. The more that we place limitations on it based on our own selves, so the more likely we are to suffer in those situations. The more we turn to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Yud Kei Vav Kei, Shem Havaya, and turn to Him for help, right, the more we'll receive it. Right? As the Vilna Gaon says, the more we ask for Rachamim, the more we realize it's not contingent on our own self, but all our success is contingent on Hashem's infinite mercy, the more that we'll be zocheh to see it. So now, as we say Hallel on the last day or days of Hanukkah, or whenever we're saying Hallel at any time, let's keep that in mind and use the Hallel to grow in Merech of Kah and to see HaKadosh Baruch Hu more and more in our lives it should be very, very clear. Amen. Kain Teiratzon.